The Death of Beowulf. So I want to go ahead and note that the title of this chapter is foreshadowing Beowulf's fate. Wiglaf joins Beowulf, who again attacks the dragon single-handed, but the remnant of his sword shatters, and the monster wounds him in the neck. Wiglaf then strikes the dragon, and he and Beowulf together finally succeed in killing the beast. Their triumph is short-lived, however, because Beowulf's wound proves to be mortal. So they finally killed the dragon, but the dragon had stabbed or kind of scratched Beowulf in the neck, which was a fatal wound, meaning he was going to die from it. Beowulf spoke in spite of the swollen, livid wound, knowing he'd unwound his string of days on earth, seen as much as God would grant him. All worldly pleasure was gone, as life would go soon. "I'd leave my armor to my son," says Beowulf, "now, if God had given me an heir, a child born of my body, his life created from mine. I've worn this crown for 50 winters. No neighboring people have tried to threaten the Geats, sent soldiers against us, or talked of terror. My days have gone by as fate willed, waiting for its word to be spoken, ruling as well as I knew how, swearing no unholy oaths, seeking no lying wars. I can leave this life happy. I can die here, knowing the Lord of all life has never watched me wash my sword in blood born of my own family. Beloved Wiglaf, go, quickly, find the dragon's treasure. We've taken its life, but its gold is ours, too. Bring me ancient armor and gems before I die. Death will be softer, leaving life and this people I've ruled so long if I look at this last of all prizes." So Beowulf is dying. He has no children, and he's saying that he's had a good life, but he's had no children. So he wants Wiglaf, his cousin, to go get the jewels from the dragon's tower because they earned them throughout the battle and they killed the dragon, meaning that they earned their way. So he wants to see the jewels and the treasures and all of that before he dies, which tells you a little bit about Beowulf. He doesn't care about people. He didn't want to see his friends or any of his family. He wanted to see a treasure before he died. And he didn't care about anything else as his battles went on. All he cared about was fame and making sure that he won things. Then Wexton's son went in as quickly as he could, did as the dying Beowulf asked, entered the inner darkness of the tower, went with his mail shirt and his sword. Flushed with victory, he groped his way, a brave young warrior, and suddenly saw piles of gleaming gold, precious gems scattered on the floor, cups and bracelets, rusty old helmets, beautifully made, but rotting, with no hands to rub and polish them. They lay where the dragon had left them. It had flown into the darkness once before fighting its final battle. So gold can easily defeat the strongest of men, no matter how deep it is hidden. And he saw, hanging high above a golden banner, woven with the best weavers and beautiful, and over everything he saw, a strange light shining everywhere, on walls and floor and treasure. Nothing moved. No other monsters appeared. He took what he wanted, all the treasures that pleased his eye, heavy plates and golden cups and the glorious banner, loaded his arm with all that he could hold. Beowulf's dagger, his iron blade, had finished the fire-spitting terror that once protected the tower and treasures alike. The gray-bearded lord of the Geats had ended those flying, burning raids forever. So, Wiglaf was in there collecting all the amazing treasures that he had seen. There was tons within the tower. They were all over the place. There were banners, there were cups, plates, tons of jewelry, and Beowulf is out there dying and just holding on to his last few things that he had. Then Wiglaf went back, anxious to return while Beowulf was alive, to bring him treasure they had won together. He ran, hoping his wounded king, weak and dying, had not left the world too soon. Then he brought their treasure to Beowulf, and found his famous king bloody, gasping over his lord, or gasping for breath. But Wiglaf sprinkled water over his lord until the words deep in his breast broke through and were heard. So Wiglaf got back to Beowulf, who was dying. He was literally about to die, but Wiglaf sprinkled some water over him, and that kind of brought him back to life. Beholding the treasure, he spoke hastily. For this gold, these jewels, I thank our Father in heaven, ruler of the earth, for all of this, that his grace has given me, allowed me to bring to my people while breath still came to my lips. I sold my life for this treasure, and I sold it well. Take what I leave, Wiglaf. Lead my people. Help them. My time is gone. Have the brave Geats build me a tomb when the funeral flames have burned me, and build it here at the water's edge, high on the spit of land, so sailors can see this tower and remember my name and call it Beowulf's Tower, and boats in the darkness and mist crossing the sea will know it. So those were Beowulf's last words to Wiglaf. He was kind of giving him his, okay, here's what I want to happen when I die, do this with my body. So take note that he said he wanted his body to be burned, and then he wanted them to build a tomb, a giant tower, right where he had died on the water's edge, so that anytime anybody would come in, they would see his tower and remember, oh yeah, that's Beowulf's tower. Beowulf was this great man. Okay? Then that brave king gave the golden necklace from around his throat to Wiglaf, gave him his gold-covered helmet and his rings and his mail shirt, and ordered him to use them well. You're the last of all our far-flung family. Fate has swept our race away, taken warriors and their strength, and led them to death that was waiting, and now I follow them. The old man's mouth was silent, spoke no more, had said as much as it could. He would sleep in the fire soon. His soul left his flesh, flew to glory. And when the battle was over, Beowulf's followers came out of the woods, cowards and traitors, knowing that the dragon was dead, afraid while it spit its fires to fight in their lord's defense, to throw their javelins and spears. They came like shamefaced jackals, their shields in hand, and the place where the prince lay dead, they waited for Wiglaf to speak. He was sitting near Beowulf's body, wearily sprinkling water on the dead man's face, trying to stir him. He could not. No one could have kept the life of their lord's body or turned aside the Lord's will. World and men and all move as he orders, and always have and always will. So, Beowulf just died. He gave his last words to Wiglaf, saying that he wanted him to take his place as king, and that Wiglaf was the last of their family. So Wiglaf truly was the last and the person that should have taken over as king. And after Beowulf died, his followers and all of his people came out that had been hiding in the woods, and they were all very shameful of themselves, upset and embarrassed that they were not able to fight for their king while he was still alive. Then Wiglaf turned and angrily told them what men without courage must hear. Wexton's brave son stared at the traitors, his heart sorrowful, and said what he had to. I say what anyone who speaks the truth must say. Too few of his warriors remembered to come when our Lord faced death alone. And now the giving of swords, of golden rings and rich estates is over, ended for you and everyone who shares your blood. When the brave Geats hear how you have bolted and ran, none of your race will have anything left but their lives. And death would be better for them all, and for you, than the kind of life you can lead, branded with disgrace. So he basically just put them in their place and told them that they are no longer people of the Geats and that their families would kind of desert them. Then the warriors rose, walked slowly down from the cliff, stared at those wonderful sights, stood weeping as they saw Beowulf dead on the sand, their bold ring-giver resting in his last bed. He reached the end of his days, their mighty war king, the great lord of the Geats, gone to a glorious death.